This is FYI on your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I have got my history teacher here, Doug Phillips. Thank you for joining us here.
Oh, you're
my goodness,
very welcome.
You were my history teacher back in the 70s here in high school.
Oh my goodness, can't be that long ago.
No, it can't be. No, it really can't be that long ago.
Here, I'm very honored to be sitting next to a Citizen of the Year in Smiths Falls.
Well, thank you very much. It was quite a nice honor that night. They surprised me, that's for sure. That's for sure. That's for sure. Now, you have written a book, Frost and Wood of Smiths Falls. It's not your first book you've written either.
I've written another book about the 1937 Smiths Falls Beavers. Mm-hmm. They were a professional team. They played in the Canadian American League. It was an 8-team league. 4 teams were on the Canadian side of the border, 4 teams on the American side of the border. The league actually was founded in 1936, and it was promoted by Naughty Lee. Smiths Falls joined in 1937. They had, over the course of the summer, there were 29 players who came and went. They were all Americans. Mm-hmm. It was a professional team. It was a New York Yankees farm team. And it was, they had an excellent ball diamond. The old recreation grounds where the new arena is was one of the finest ballparks in minor league ballparks in North America. The problem was they didn't draw a lot of people. So the second year, 1938, it moved on. The franchise moved. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a piece of Smiths Falls history that I sort of knew when I was growing up. I heard little stories about it, but didn't know much about it. So about 25 years ago, I decided I spent 4 years researching because nobody knew anything about it. And I was motivated by the same reason that I wrote the Frost and Wood book. There was a poem that I read when I was doing the baseball book, and the poem is called Memories. It's by a man named, maybe it's a woman, a person named E.D. Blodgett, and the poem goes, "When we no longer move within this world, echoes of us will within the air resound, crows forever wakeful to their task." So in a sense, that book is my collection of the echoes of Frost and Wood, as my baseball book is my collection of the echoes of the baseball team. And since you've read the book, you know a lot of the echoes are personal memories of people who worked at Frost
Absolutely, and that was going to be one of my first questions. Yeah. I've read the book, so yeah. I know now why you wrote this. But yeah. My goodness, it's just such a big history of Smiths Falls, and really, it's a massive building. I think if we don't even talk about the employees, the building itself was massive. Yeah. And there's really no evidence of it being here in Smiths Falls.
Somebody asked me how big was the building. I said, well, first of all, there were 30 of them on the site. It was 8 acres. It was a massive complex, and it was a major employer in Smiths Falls for well over 100 years. Mm-hmm. And it is a tragedy that not even a plaque remains. Somebody suggested that somebody should take on the project of getting a plaque made. I know who they mean, but
yes. You might know somebody. Yes, yeah, for sure. And you know, this bits and pieces that I love the parade part.
Yes.
I really, there was a part in here too. They seem to have like baseball teams, bowling teams, yep. But they work like 6 days a week, 8-10 hours a day. And I was thinking to myself, when did they find time to play baseball?
Yeah, they I don't know, but 6 days a week, I guess. But certainly by the time most of the people I interviewed, they were working 8-hour shifts.
For a regular time,
yeah,
okay.
So I don't know, maybe we're working 6 hours a day. But
I meant 6 days a week, 10 hours a day.
Sorry,
10 hours a day. It's like, when did they find time?
Yes, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Mm-hmm. I guess they made well, those people were talking about when they were young men or young women.
Yes.
So when you're young, you can do a lot of things, right?
Yeah, for sure, that's for sure. And a lot of the book, it is the history of the building and the history of how things came about with the owners and everything like that. But a big portion of it is interviews you did with people. I really, really enjoyed that part of it. We're seeing the names in here: Clarence Casebo, Mr. Colley.
Ray Healy.
Ray Healy is in here, Charlie Dalton, Lois Davis.
Ken Wilcox.
Yeah, there's so many names in here, and it's you knew them. If you didn't know them, you knew their families.
I did the interviews 10 and 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. To my knowledge, they're all gone now. The last person who was alive was a man named Arthur Miller, He lived in Kingston. He lived in Kingston. He started out at Frost and Wood. Oh, one of the interesting things about the book, several of the men came from a farm to work in the factory. They never went back to the farm. They went on to other things. Like Ray Healy came off the farm near Toledo, and then when he left Frost and Wood's close, he started up his transportation business, which became very successful. There's a lot of stories like that. Ray Healy also said that they liked farmers at Frost and Wood because farmers knew hard work.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, the last person that was alive was a man named Arthur Miller, who was the brother of Clifford Miller. He lived on, he was part of that family on that road between Lombardy and Rideau Ferry. And I checked out the obituaries the other day, and he died 5 days ago.
Oh.
And the obituary was in the paper the next day, and so he's the last one. The person that was before that, there was two people. Well, one you would remember from the book would be Orman Van Dusen.
Yes. Oh, yes.
He lived till he was 102.
Yes, he did.
He just died last year.
Yes.
Yeah. And a woman that died lived until early this year was Norma Donovan. She is Linda Bisonette's mother.
Okay.
She was a very impressive. I enjoyed talking to them all, as you can probably tell.
Yes.
And they enjoyed talking about their time at Frost and Wood. There was a lady in there, Vivian Robbins. When I went over to visit her, she was the delightful person to talk to. She was one of the first welders at Frost and Wood. She worked there for 7 years.
Was she the tiny one that fit inside? Yes.
She's the tiny one and the foreman called all the men over to show how she did a certain weld. And I said to her, I bet you that made you feel good. It sure did, she said. But when I went to visit her, I noticed, this lady looked like she's got something important to do today. She's got a nice dress on. She looks like she just had her hair done. I wonder what she's doing today. Isn't so important. Well, 2 days later, when I'm taking her interview and putting it into a narrative, I know what the important thing was. She had to talk to some guy about her time working at Frost and Wood. She loved her time at Frost and Wood. I'm sure it gave her a lot of confidence for the rest of her life, because she was a young, I won't say young girl, a young woman, very young woman, came from home, got a job, and did a very responsible job.
Yes.
And
even back then, they acknowledged women to be able to do trades.
Well, somebody tried to suggest to me that maybe there was a lot of discrimination against her and other women doing those jobs. I never got a clue of that.
No.
I never got a single solitary hint of any friction between people that worked in the plant. The only people they didn't see coming around were the timekeepers. The timekeepers would time the job, and so as Arthur Miller said, when the timekeepers came around, you had to slow down quick, because the timekeepers were there to time how long it took you to do a certain job.
Oh, okay, yes.
And if you were doing it at fast rate, well, that meant
piecework.
Yes. A lot of them most of them you read in there on piecework, and of course, they said if you had to do, have a particular job, you could do 12 an hour, for example. Well, if you were doing faster than that, they might retime that and say, no, you could have to do 15 an hour. Well, so you slowed down quick when the timekeepers came around.
And I think it was Mr. Casibo who had said that the mistakes went in the Rideau River.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when he was talking about the inspectors. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
If you knew it wasn't going to pass inspection, you look for an open window.
Yeah. And what else too? It seemed to be a going trend too. Is like they would go to apply for a job and they would say they were older than they were.
Oh, that was Arthur Miller did that. He was 16.
Yeah.
And I think he's told me when he was if you're 16, you got paid 48 cents an hour. If you were 18, they paid you a man's wage, which was 68 cents an hour. So he told them he was 18, and so he got a man's wage.
That's right. That's right.
And the other man, there's a very interesting history there, was Frank Ramsey. I don't know if you recall reading about Frank Ramsey, but he took a tool and die apprenticeship there, and he took that tool and die apprenticeship from Frost and Wood, and he worked in the automobile industry and the defense industry, and he worked in high-tech industries. The rest of his life, he ended up living out in California. But he had bought a property up by Rideau Ferry, and he used to drive from California up to Rideau Ferry every summer. And then when he retired, he came up more often than that, or for a longer period of time. But he died in 2019, just about 4 or 5 years ago. My biggest regret is I didn't get this book out sooner, so those people could have read it. And that was the inspiration. I mean, that's why I decided I got to do this, because I've got so much cooperation from those people. It's about 40% of the book.
Yeah.
It's the heart and soul of the book, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought so. That was, yeah, for sure. And I got to tell you, the other day on Sunday, I was at the Heritage House Museum.
Yes.
My grandson was in an art competition,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's outside painting the gazebo. And I was wandering around, and I went inside the museum, and there was a gentleman, and he's standing there reading this book.
Oh, yeah.
And I had mine out, because
Yeah,
I had to stay with Bryson. So I was out in the front lawn. I'm reading this on the front lawn, and I just wandered inside, and there's a gentleman, and he's holding this out. I said, "That's a really good book."
Yeah.
He said, "Did you enjoy it?"
Yeah.
I said, "I'm reading it right now out in the front lawn." He said, I'm one of the Frost family."
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
yeah. I should have asked him what his name was. I should have asked
Well,
him what
at the
but he
book
bought the
launch
book.
that you were at, Joanne Frost was there.
Yes.
Now she was the granddaughter of George Frost, whose father was William Frost, who was the youngest son of Ebenezer. And William Frost was not involved in Frost and Wood, but William Frost was one of the people that founded the Malibu, Smiths Falls Malibu. And when he lived until the early 1920s, and he had 3 sons, and 3 of them went into business with the Malibu works, but 2 of them died in the influenza epidemic after the First World War. The one that survived and stayed on with the company was George Frost, and that was this lady's grandfather.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where do people get this book?
Yeah, that's the issue right now. Obviously, you can get it at Heritage House Museum.
Yes.
Tom Clark at Tom's Locksmithing is a big promoter of the book. He has them on, right now for sale. You can get them directly through me. I'm not hard to get a hold of. Right now, I don't have them in any other venues. The problem with putting them in regular bookstores is that they have to take a large percentage, and then I'm giving the book away. Well,
yes, you are.
I have to cover my costs.
That's right. Yes.
So, Heritage House, Tom's Locksmithing, myself. October 1st, I'm going to be at the Heritage House Museum. They have a fall fest. I guess it's quite popular.
Yes.
I'll be there with my table and tent and 2 books, both the Frost and Wood book and the baseball book. So that would be a good opportunity.
Excellent.
For people. They can get it signed copy then too.
Perfect. You'll be right there. You'll be right there. You had your book launch on August 26th. That was a great event too.
It was. I was very pleased. I was well attended. I was expecting 300 or 400, but you know, no, the people that came it was great, and a couple of people that came. One guy was and his wife. They came from Mississauga. I went to good friends with them in high school. Now they weren't here just for the book launch, but they when they found out when the book launch was, they made their plans around the book launch. Another person that was there was a woman came up. She had a photo album, and in 1971. I took her and about 15 other students to London and Paris. I was a teacher, and she was one of the students, and she had her photo album from the trip, and she said that was the best trip ever.
Yes, that's right. I was listening to that conversation. I took a few pictures of that too. So, well, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for writing this book. So, Tom's Locksmith and the Heritage House Museum, but you will be at the Heritage House Museum on October 1st.
October 1st, yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for writing this. It's been a really good read.
Well, I appreciate
a lot
time
of learning.
spent with you, and I remember you were a good history student.
Thank you.